Hey, this is John Carlos, and I am here with a look at the Hot Toys 6-scale figure of Captain Marvel. And this is the deluxe edition of Captain Marvel that comes with Jonesy the cat and her brown leather jacket and like some extra arm blasts. Did I say Jonesy the cat? I meant Goose. Duh. First things first, we gotta talk about the details of this costume. In particular, the quality of the sculpt on her outfit, because there is some sculpting. The costume is tights for like the legs, and then right when you get to like her torso, like her chest and this little line, the little red edged lines right there are a solid piece with tights running up underneath the front chest and the shoulder bit. You can see right there at the armpit, it is kind of like a rubbery like set of tights, but shiny rubber nonetheless. The quality of the sculpt on the chest is really good. The detail like on the star and just like the groove lines, really well done, really well painted. In particular, what's well painted are these little sections on her thighs. This is also a texture. I mean, I know it's just tights, but there is actual sculpted grooves. You can actually feel the grooving on there. Really impressive work. Those grooves are also along the back a bit. One thing of note is that you can see the seam going right down her butt crack and going up to her front bum. You can see that seam is I don't know, it's very noticeable. It feels like it's about to tear open. I don't know, I don't like seeing those little dotted lines. It makes me a little nervous. Also nervous is just the articulation, which on this figure is pretty solid, but I don't, you know, when you have a figure that's tights, you know, that works for like a little bit of time, but if you leave your figure posed like that for months and months and months, I think you're going to get some damage there. Not the most dynamic pose to have her with her arms down, but long term, we'll see how it goes. Her boots look really good. Here's a closer look at her boots. You can see the nice detail there on the separation between gold and red. Some nice sculpt, especially with the little cuff part that goes over the little ankle joint, which you get some range of motion. A nice little bit of blue there, though. Nice detail on the bottom, the little tread there. But yeah, overall, I really dig this, especially just even like on her hands, you get the little sense of like fabric wrinkle right there. Yeah, it's very leathery, works, it's really good. Let's talk the face sculpt, because that, my friends, is where it's at. My favorite thing about this figure, actually, is the likeness of Brie Larson. I love the expression they have here. It definitely reads like stoic, intense. I love it's an almost furrowed brow. I love the intensity of her eyebrows. It's very serious. The likeness is great as far as like her profile, her eyes, the lips. It's really, really good stuff. As usual, Hot Toys is great with like the wetness of the eyes, but I just love the intensity of her face and the way the hair hangs and just like, you know, the almost skin-like look of the skin paint. It's just outstanding. I also really dig the hair sculpt. It's kind of maybe slightly too dark, but nothing drastic, but I love the way it hangs and flows down. The coloring, like the shading from like dark to light in there, looks really, really good. The way it hangs on the back where it meets the shoulders, really, really solid. This figure comes with several accessories, and we'll start off by looking at her little fist hands. And then we have a set of open palm hands. Left one is a wide open palm, right is a little grippy. And then we have this little hang loose hand. And then we have the glowy fists, which work in tangent with the little glowy cuff. And then we have these little fire blasts that plug into, like where the actual hands would plug into on like the wrist peg. Then we have these which would fit around the cuff. We'll put these all on later to show you, but there you go. There's a pair of those little twisty things. They're all in kind of a translucent, kind of glowy effect. We also have an alternate head, which comes with its own alternate glowy hairpiece. This does have LED light up eyes, which we will show later, but here's just a closer look at the sculpt. Overall, I think it looks really, really good. I think her hair looks super rad. And we also get this set of 9 batteries, 3 for the head and 3 for each arm, and a little assistant wand thing there. Exclusive to this deluxe set, we have Goose the cat, which has a very, very nice sculpt. It has some nice little furry hairlines sculpted all along the surface. The paint is solid. I like that you can read the collar there, says Goose. Face looks good too. We also have her jacket, which again you can read, Carol Danvers right on the front there. Nice detail, especially on the back. The design on the back looks really, really cool. Reads leathery, yay! And then we have these extra blasts that attach at the wrist peg, and definitely are way more active and huge compared to the regular arm blasts. Lastly, we have this figure stand, which has the attachable bendy arm, but doesn't have the gigantic bendy base, which I appreciate, because it's fun when, a flying character can be put on the super sturdy bendy arm, but I hate when the base is like gigantic and then it takes up so much space on the shelf. This is, here's the little arm clip. It's a little C-clamp. There's some little foam in there for the edges where it touches the figure. I just appreciate that it's one of the newer stands that we've seen with some figures that isn't the old black little oval with nothing. There is some artwork on it, but it isn't giant. Popping off the hand, we get the little clear wrist, which allows the LED light to shine through. And we're going to open up that and put in some batteries. Even though this screw looks like a Phillips, I had to use a 1.2 millimeter flathead to take that off. Once you get the batteries in, you just flick that switch and the wrist peg lights up. For the sake of this review, I am leaving the battery cover off as I put the binary cuff over it, and I'm just putting that little swizzle over it. And now I will put the wrist peg on, and then I've got glowy fist. And now we have 2 glowy fists. And let's just bring them up a little bit. You just can see the LED kind of piercing through the fists themselves. And here they are with some of the shooting lights off. Here she is with her little fireball wrist attachment swirly things. There's a pretty good sculpt to the fire on them. And with the lights off, I gotta say, the fact they included like a blue and green inside the base of it really do kind of contrast and read good against the yellow. It actually reads more bluey and green in person than it does on camera. These attach with just little basic holes inside that the wrist pegs fit into, and I'm really happy with how easy they went on. And I gotta say, they look pretty cool. And here she is with the bonus, like super binary blasty wrist things. I'm going to turn the lights off, but there is a problem with these. Here's a look at them without the lights. The light doesn't carry all the way through the blast. I didn't expect it to, considering the size of this. I wouldn't expect this light to travel, but still. But the bigger problem is, one, I don't want to raise her arms too high and damage the armpit fabric, but even if you wanted to, the weight of these things is just so heavy that, if you wanted her out in like a pew 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 kind of pose, her arms are not gonna stay up, so that's a bummer. Switching out the head requires not just taking off the head, but the neck itself, which plugs into like another joint right there. And plugging this head into the socket is super easy, and I gotta say, man, that looks cool as hell. I really, really, really dig this head a lot. Now to put the batteries in, you just slide the head off the neck thing like that, and then we will put the batteries in there. Alright, 3 batteries are inserted. Flip the on switch. The light highlights where the eyes and the mohawk would go. I'll slide the head onto the thingy, and there we go. Let's get the lights off here so you can see some of the glowy lights. I think the eyes look super rad. The hair does come out. You can already see how the light's hitting my hand there. Wow, and that plugs in super easy. Look at that. Look at that glowing effect. I frickin' love it. I was not expecting to like the glow effect as much as I do, but it reads really, really well. While I've got the figure with her head off, I might as well put the jacket on. The instructions do say to like leave the arm cuffs off of the sleeves when putting it on. That makes sense. You don't want something too thick blocking up putting on the jacket. Do watch the little corners here. If you are sliding it through, you don't want it to snag on anything. That jacket went on really easily. I've put some jackets on Hot Toys figures in the past, you know, worked some arms through some sleeves and they were quite difficult, but that was probably the easiest jacket I've ever put on a Hot Toys figure. So right on. This figure stands perfectly fine on its own, but you can use the figure stand. One thing I like is that the little C-clamp can slide up and down the pole and just clip onto the figure's waist and operate the way a normal figure stand would. In the past, they've had some figures where the stand is locked, the little clamp is locked in right at the top, and it forces your figure to be, if it's a flying figure, to be posed in a flying pose. So I like that this is somewhat adjustable. I am not opposed to putting the figure in a flying pose for the sake of this video. I can't get the legs in that dynamic of range though. If you want to bring her leg all the way up, it does seem to retract. I mean, I don't want to bend the joints on this figure too much anyway, just because one, I don't like to bend the joints too much, and two, I don't like to damage the fabric over time. But if you were looking to get her legs really high up, you're not going to be able to. This figure retails for $266. Well, the deluxe edition retails for $266. The regular release is $243. So that's $23 for the blasty things that make the arms droop, the jacket and the cat. And I think Goose and the jacket are totally worth it. I mean, I personally really like the jacket in the movie, so having the jacket in Hot Toys form I think is super awesome. In fact, that's how I'll be displaying this figure. I think this figure turned out freaking great. The details on the costume are awesome, and I think the likeness of Brie Larson is outstanding. It looks like Brie Larson from like every single angle, so that's just great. Captain Marvel is my favorite Marvel Comics character, and I really like the movie, and I really think that Hot Toys did a great job with this figure. I'm very happy with it. Thanks for watching, everybody. And if you want, you can follow me on social media, or don't, but just stay safe out there. The world is crazy right now. Please stay safe. Bye.